So Panini has given another meaning of a nash. Nash adarshane, not available for perception, not available for your knowledge, not available to the human being for its means of knowledge. Then you say, well, it is not there. But yesterday I have told you, it is not there means it is not there in manifest form. That manifestation indicates available to the human being for its perception, inference, presumption, etc. Available to the means of knowledge. So when the state of the creation is a particular state of creation in which it's not available to you for knowledge, we call it has gone now. It is destroyed, but it is in the unmanifest state. So that is to be clear in our mind. Anyway, so the fifth feature is, since it is temporary, well, it is inert. So how beautifully it has been told. These five features apply only to inert object. And what is Chetanam? Well, it is just opposite to that. I will talk to you later when we really introduce the conscious being. Well, we'll talk about it. It is just opposite to that. These five features you should remember. That five features is enough to give you Atma Anatma Viveka, Chetan Jad Viveka. That's all. Anyway, and this applies to creation. But what is the use of it for me? Yeah. Now come to the body. Same five features apply to that. Same. Body is also object of knowledge. In fact, it is an intimate object of knowledge. Puja Swamiji says, that it is other may be knowing or not your condition of the body, but you know very well where is the pain. Even without pain, you can complain about the pain and get a leave from the office. So that is the thing. Anyway, so in hunger, thirst, this, that, headache, and whatnot, very so many things, knee joint pain, this pain, everything. You know your body very well compared to any. So it's object of knowledge. Drishyatvam is there? Yeah, it is there. Okay, inert. So it is inert. We have to prove the body is inert. So now the second is Bhautikatvam. Well, that is also correct. Bhautikatvam, it has all elements made up of materials, all elements. Basic element is carbon, because they say all living beings' body are basically have a carbon anyway. So, and in it, otherwise also Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha is there. Yeah, it is there. Therefore, definitely, if Shabda is there in the body, yeah, okay, then Akasha is there, because that's an attribute. So, Sparsha is there, yeah, and therefore Vayu is also there. And as such, Vayu is there. It keeps people have sometimes more Vayu than after eating, etc. So it is, everywhere. Especially if you are asking me, this is a problem. All the time Vayu. So anyway, Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa. It has a certain form. Because Agni, and therefore fire is there. Without that also body has a temperature, you know very well. Anyway, Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasam. Well, Rasam means it has a taste. We don't want to taste, but it has a taste. And well, therefore water is also there. And as such, we know body has almost 70% of water. In fact, the shape of the body is due to water. If the body, the water becomes less and less, the shape of the body changes. So right now, whatever the shape is there, don't think it is just because of our bones, etc. It's more, or they consider because of the water itself, it has a particular shape, etc. Anyway, Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa and Gandha, definitely, and it has a smell also, and therefore definitely whole perfume industry is thriving on there. So you know very well all these things. Anyway, so and so this Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha are there in the body. So all five elements are there. Therefore Bhautikatvat, second feature, body is inert. Then the third one is Sagunatvam, and it has Sagunatvam. Now all the gunas, as I told you, Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha are there. And therefore, Sagunatvam is also, it is visible. It is there. So it is inert. And then, fourth is Savikaratvam. Well, Savikaratvam, yeah, all the vikaras are there. That's how we have calculated, we have counted 6 vikaras: jayate, asti, vardhate, viparinamate, apakshiyate, vinashyati. It is born and therefore exists, and vardhate, grows, viparinamate. Well, viparinamate means some internal changes happen, but outwardly you don't find any kind of a change. So that is also a state which is a modification, changing. Apakshiyate, well, then it starts perishing, and vinashyati, it is destroyed, etc. And therefore, destroyed means, all the 5 elements go back to its respective constituents. So, so Savikaratvam, body is constantly changing, and therefore it is correct. I am talking about right now gross body, please understand this. Huh? And then the 5th one is Agamapayitvam. Agamapayitvam is temporary. Also, okay, that is there. Yeah, it is temporary. It is for 60 years, 70 years, whatever. And so, exactly like the creation, the body also has 5 features. So, the creation is inert, body also is inert. Body is inert. That's very first thing before entering the Kenopanisad. We should have that clarity. That body is inert. Physical body is inert. And definitely, this temporariness, of course, now from the standpoint which I have told you already, we have proved the temporariness of the world based on Jagrata Avastha, right? Based on the waking state. Well, you can apply that principle here also. Somebody asked me when I was saying it is temporary for 60 years, then he said, well, for creation, you are equating the body with the creation, and creation is temporary. For that, you are giving an argument of the avastha, waking state and dream state and all. Then why can't you apply for the body? Yes, correct. This physical body is available only in the waking state. Check it. You can ask question me tomorrow. Physical body is only available in the waking state. No, but Swamiji, I am sleeping, but this body is available for others. Yeah, for others it is available, but in waking state. And you are also talking about that other person, that he says that my body is available for him. Even though I was sleeping, but I am talking about, I can talk only in waking state. So what I am saying is, basically, if this physical body is available only in waking state, that's for sure. Anyway, and then let's go further now. So it is anyway temporary. So Agamapayitvat Agamapayitvat Achetan. Now subtle body. Well, subtle body also, that is very important, because for this our gentleman, our student is asking about who is the impeller. Who impels the sense organs towards that respective objects. So even the sense organs and mind, etc., all that subtle body also, you can apply those principles. First, drashyatvat, right? First feature, drashyatvat. Well, it's object of knowledge. Your eyes is object of your knowledge for you. Even I think more than even eye specialist. When you start saying something about eye, then only he will say. And therefore, he will have, what is your complaint? And then you start. Then he, of course, he applies his, presumption, etc. And then comes to know a particular disease or whatever, disorder. So, basically, you know what is the condition of your sense organs. Whether they are working, not working properly, working less, whatever. Or working has stopped, whatever. You know the condition. Therefore, drashyatvad is there. Bhautikatvad, well, made up of subtle elements, very well. And therefore, we know all this. But that's, of course, through Shruti. But we know. Because no one can see that the subtle body is made. In a given creation, the subtle body doesn't die. Gross body dies. And therefore, for gross body dies, for that you need not go to Veda. And it's an insult to the Veda that you ask Veda whether the physical body dies or not. It's available for perception that it dies. But subtle body dies or not, that's a big question. Yeah. So in a given creation it doesn't die. But definitely Well, at Mahapralaya, that subtle body also is doesn't remain. Only causal body remains. Causal body dies or not? Don't ask me that question. Causal body doesn't die. Ignorance doesn't die. Ignorance has no beginning. Understand that. And therefore, ignorance has no beginning. Then, if you said ignorance does not die, yeah, until you gain knowledge. If anything which has no beginning, you cannot find when it was created. That's what I want to convey. So don't ask me about causal body. And but you say again causal body, not only ignorance, then all karmas and everything will be, yeah, that's there. Then the karmas have beginning or not? No. Why? Because ignorance has no beginning. Therefore jiva has no beginning. If jiva has no beginning, the karmas of the jiva also has no beginning. Vasanas of the jiva has no beginning. All causal bodies are anadi. It is beginningless. It can come to an end with the help of knowledge. If it does not, if you don't, employ, if you don't basically get a knowledge, it will not die. Even after many, many cycles of creation, it will remain. And that will give a janma. That's how it is cause. Cause for the janma. Cause for janma of what? Janma of both the bodies. And therefore, it will give even though subtle body dies, the new subtle body will be born. As per your karma and vasanas. And that ignorance. And therefore, the causal body only dies when person knows. Other two bodies die at a different time. That's in a given cycle of creation, physical body dies several times. At the end of the cycle of the creation, well, Mahapralaya, there are various types of pralayas are also there. Well, then Mahapralaya, when definitely everything resolves, then in subtle body also resolves. Remains in a causal state, that is Maya. So, Brahman plus Maya, Ishvara will be there. And well, in his stomach, we all will be there in a causal form. So, and then okay, he brings it out. That's a creation. He manifests all of us as per our own karmas. And from our samashti karma, the creation comes. From our vyashti karma, various bodies, our own vyashti bodies will come. So this is how it goes on. Anyway, so sense organs and mind, etc. also, basically, they also bhautikatvat, then sagunatvam, etc. Well, it has also its own guna attributes. Mind has its own attribute, this has its own attribute. And savikaratvam, that's correct, it is changing. Earlier there was a different power, now it's a different power I have on the board, in the eyes. So with savikaratvam, it is constantly changing. And agama payitvam, well, temporary, because we may lose also, and therefore they have arrived and therefore they go also. And sometime even in a given life itself we totally lose eyes or ears or etc. So it can happen. And therefore all these 5 features can be applied to subtle body also. And therefore all this is inert. To prove causal body inert, well, that is nothing else but we can say the causal body is, the Karana Shariram is one with the Maya. And Maya is definitely a non-separate from the Ishvara, Brahman, and therefore it is inert. How can you say it is inert? Wait a minute, how can you say it is inert? Well, whatever is non-separate from that, it is inert. In this case. So, Brahman and Maya is there. Well, definitely, Maya is for its existence dependent upon this Brahman, and therefore this Maya is inert. Well, anyway, so these 5 things we have said for inert world, for features are there. And well, and students wants to know now, what is that invisible or a spiritual principle which makes the body alive, which makes the body sentient, gross, subtle, etc. Well, how so? What is that principle? In general, he is asking this question. What is that Devaha? What is that effulgent being? Well, which who makes this body alive and sentient? Now let's go to the question. question has certain features. Well, that is, we will have to know, we have to discuss certain things which is very essential. So here it is said Keneshitam patati preshitam manah. Let's concentrate on these two things right now. These two words we'll have to discuss. Ishitam, preshitam. Now word Ishitam has been formed root ish. Now ish, that particular root is available in three conjugations. Ish, first it is in the fourth conjugation. Ishyati. The form will be ishyati. Like gam gacchati, same way ishyati. And that is in the sense of a gati, in the sense of going. Ishyati means gacchati. Then the second, again that ish root appears in the sixth conjugation. Ish ichchayam. And there the root, the meaning of that will be to desire. Ish ichchati, to desire. And the third ish dhatu appears in the ninth conjugation. And that is abhikshnam, means to happen again and again. That's a meaning there. Now what here Ishitam has been told. This Ishitam is basically a past passive participle of the root ish. Past passive participle. But what is the meaning to be given? Because the three meanings are there. To go, to desire, or to happen again and again. Which meaning we should take? Then definitely they say we have to take the meaning of desiring. So ish, from that the word we have got in the mantra ishitam means desired. Kena ishitam, desired by whom? That's what the meaning is. Now you can see here the mantra, the question he says, desired by whom, this prompted or impelled mind goes to its respective objects, goes to its own field of activity. Now here basically mind goes to its various objects is not a desire, it is known to everyone. That is not he does not desire to know that where mind goes, because it is our own understanding. And therefore, basically he is asking a question, Kena Ishitam means desired by whom this prompted mind goes to its respective objects. Could you follow what I am saying? I will give you an example. Suppose the fan is moving. Now, if I ask you whether fan is moving or not, if I ask you, well, whether the fan moves or not, you say, Swami, it is, you can see, it is, can't you see? It is moving. It is available for all. You can know by yourself. That's what he wants to convey. But if I say, by which principle the fan moves, then you can say, yeah, Swami, that's a correct question. Well, there is a electricity, that is the principle, and well, it is invisible, and therefore you may not be knowing, and therefore I should tell you that yes, because of the electricity the fan is moving. Same way, mind also is moving in its own objects, desiring and then discriminating and taking a decision, etc., and all these kind of things, contemplating, etc., etc., all these activities of the mind. So he is not asking a question where the mind goes. He is not asking that question. What is the principle? What is that invisible factor? What is that principle, invisible principle, which is responsible for the mind to stand in its sphere of activities? Could you follow? And therefore here we have to take the meaning of ish as a ichcha, desired by whom the mind, well, as though prompted, goes to its field of activity. And therefore, we have to take ish here in the sense of here ichha means to desire, not in ish in the sense of going, because that you know, mind goes to various field that you know very well. For that one need not go to Upanishad. And then even our, the Shishya also, well, cannot ask this kind of a question. And therefore, we have to take out of the three meaning of the Ish Dhatu, we have to take that meaning of to desiring. So, okay, now the second thing. Ish will, when you make a past passive participle, it should be Ishtam. But here it is Ishitam. Therefore, well, it has been told this is a Chandasam. Chandasam means it's a Vedic usage. Veda has a license to use another form. So here, even though in the question we have a word Ishitam, you have to take it as a Ishtam. And that's what Bhashakara clarifies. If you see in the Bhashyam, if you have Kena Kartra Ishitam Ishtam Abhipretam Sat Manaha Patati Gacchati Svavishayam Prati. This is there. Anyway, I am going to come there. So this is Ishitam. The problem is, he has used another word also. Preshitam. Kena Ishitam Patati means Gacchati. Preshitam. So two adjectives are used for that mind, Manaha. Ishitam Manaha, Preshitam Manaha. Ishitam, desired by, Kena Ishitam, desired by whom? Desired by what? The mind goes towards its various objects, goes towards the various field of its own sphere of activity. And now Preshitam also, unfortunately, pra plus Ishitam, Preshitam. And therefore the root will be the same. If root will be the same, then definitely both have a same meaning. So Ishitam and Preshitam both have the same meaning, desired by whom. Now he cannot repeat like this. One can repeat few things, but at least after few sentences. He just in a given line, Kena Ishitam Preshitam Manaha, and Ishitam and Preshitam both have the meaning of desired. Well, then it doesn't make a sense. Since he has used this word, we will have to give some extra meaning. That's what it means. Okay. Now comes to Preshitam. Preshitam means prompted. Now Preshitam, we will take that way. Preshitam means preritam. Preshitam means preritam. Prompted by what? So, mind is prompted, because we'll see that mind is basically prompted for a directed activity. That's our experience. We direct our mind towards some particular activity. And therefore, definitely it is prompted. Now, just Preshitam will be there, then definitely who is the prompting factor? That will be the question. Kena Preshitam. By whom the mind is prompted and goes to its various field. Goes to the sphere of activity, particular sphere of activity. So, who is that prompter? Who is that impeller? That kind of a question can be there then. Kena Preshitam. And how does he prompt? That question also can be there. Could you follow what I am saying? Suppose Ishitam is not there, and merely if you take Preshitam, then you can say, well, Kena Preshitam Manaha means mind is of course prompted, but then who is the prompter? That would be the Shishya's question. And how does that particular entity, whatever that entity, prompts the mind? Two things are there. The prompter, an impeller, prompter word is there or not, I don't know, but impeller. Okay, so one who impels, one who prompts. Okay, so about that he wants to know. And also, well, if somebody impels mind towards its sphere of activity, then definitely how does he impel? That also question can be there. And well, this method of prompting, etc., that also question is there. But thank God, Ishitam word is there, and therefore it indicates clearly just a desire, desired by whom the prompted mind goes towards its object. I will give you a simple example. Like, suppose I am there here in ashram, or I have come to your place. That is better. I have come to your place, and well, you came to know my desire. That Swamiji has a desire of ice cream, let's say. So just because I have a desire of an ice cream, you are prompted for an activity. What is the activity? You have gone to bring the ice cream, etc. Or you send someone else, whatever. So basically, Kena Ishitam, desired by, let's say, desired by a Swami, you are prompted, you are the one, you who are prompted goes toward a particular field of activity, bringing the ice cream. Could you follow? Now, there is another thing also possible. I have come to your place. You don't know that I want ice cream. I have as though, pretended that no. You have not asked, but I have pretended, being a Swami, that I should not have any kind of a desire and all sensual sense objects desire, and therefore as if I have pretended that I don't want anything. So you do not know that I have a desire, right? But still you are prompted to bring. Just because I have come to your place, you are prompted to bring the ice cream. That is also possible. So now there are 4 things in this, and these 4 questions we will have to understand. So Ishitam, of course, is very essential. Preshitam means a prompter. One who Preshitam means a prompted mind. Preshitam manah definitely brings a curiosity. Who prompts the mind? And how does he prompt the mind? And that creates a problem. Because here it is going to be talked about the consciousness, who does not prompt anybody. There is no method of prompting for anything. He does not want, Atma does not want anything, so that he has to prompt somebody to do certain activity. Nothing of that sort. So merely Preshitam, if it is there, it could lead to a different kind of inquiry, and that it does not lead to a proper place. And therefore Ishitam is required. Of course, mind is prompted. Preshitam, correct. But Ishitam, desired by, merely desiring. Desired by that entity, mind is prompted and goes towards its own sphere of activity. Sphere of activity includes everything, Desiring, thinking, and or deciding, emoting, everything. Contemplating, all this is a sphere of activity of a mind. Well, so desiring by that entity, and then desiring itself, and we are going in detail, don't worry, but desiring itself means what? Well, that principle has to desire, and then you will go. Means that entity also should have a mind, right? To desire, because desire also is a thought. Then if that also has a mind, then what is the factor which is responsible for his mind to desire? Or then it is prompted towards your mind, and you are being prompted, goes towards the activity. So it will bring another problem. So therefore we'll have to think ultimately that entity is really not desiring, but it is there. Just being, it is present there, and mind basically is prompted. This is a line of thinking. So that entity basically does not even desire, because desiring requires a mind. When you again bring the mind into the picture, then again that mind will have to be prompted, and that mind prompts this mind, and this mind is prompted, goes towards the activity. and therefore this will be anavastha, etc. We are discussing. So basically, the ishitam and preshitam both are required. Merely preshitam is not enough. Preshitam means preritam. Preritam manaha, prompted mind, goes towards activity. Means the question will be kena preshitam, who prompts the mind, and how does he prompt the mind, what he speaks to the mind so that it gets prompted, and what is the manner in which it prompted the mind. Has it shown any kind of a threat or anything? No. All problems. And basically our Atma is, basically it is free from all this kind of a thing. And therefore preshitam merely is not enough. And therefore the other word is there. And even though ishitam, preshitam are formed from the one root alone, but we will have to take little different meaning. And that is, ishitam means, kena ishitam means desired by whom, preshitam manaha, prompted mind, goes towards patati. Patati means goes towards its own sphere of activity. This is a line of discussion we will be having. So bear with me, we will have to discuss in this manner. So, kena ishitam preshitam manaha patati. So, prompted by whom and desired by whom does the mind land upon a given object? Means mind lands upon a given object means basically begins to dwell upon different objects, different things. So, and you see that this is our experience, that one does not even plan to think of a given object, but the mind suddenly lands upon an object, right? You are not having that kind of a sankalpa, let me think over. That also is possible, but it is not all the time like that. Mind just lands upon a given object. Mind starts dwelling upon a given object. So, 4 questions I am putting forth now. We will be answering them. Does the mind itself move from object to object? Because that is my experience. Even though I don't decide to think about, I don't decide that let me think over this object. Still the mind goes from object to object. That is our experience. So we ask a question, does the mind itself move from object to object? 1. On its own, matlab. Or is there someone who is behind the mind, making the mind think of something? Well, that is the question. So, maybe somebody prompting the mind. Well, you think in this way. Well, now you think in this way. Is it so? Or 3rd question. Does that person exercise some will, some desire, some intention to make mind think? 3rd question. 4th question. Is that person a non-willing vastu, non-willing entity in whose presence the mind behaves as though it is prompted and does its own chores of activity? Could you follow? 4 questions are there. 4 questions. First question, as I told you, does the mind itself move from object to object on its own? Or is there someone prompting who is behind the mind, making the mind think of something? Or 3rd, does that person, the entity, exercise any desire, any will, any intention to make the mind think? Or is that vastu, or is that person, is that an entity, is that principle, is basically a non-willing entity in whose presence the mind behaves as though prompted and dwells upon its own subjects, dwells upon its own things? So these are the 4 questions. Now we will have to answer. And basically, so we are analyzing the question and understand that. And that question has a 4 questions. That's what I mean. And we are answering to those 4 questions. And by that, we are understanding the question. That's all. That's what it is. Answer, basically, the answer of this question, which is asked by the student of the Kenopanisad, will be given by the teacher in the next mantra. But here we are understanding the question, and to understand the question, we divide the question into 4 parts. I mean, in 4 questions, and we will try to understand it. We will try to answer those questions. So the mind basically, is always objectifying one thing or the other. It is called sadharana karanam. Sadharana karanam is a common instrument of knowing. That's all. Common instrument of knowing. And our sense organs are asadharana karanam. Asadharana karanam means basically a particular means of knowing. Particular means what? Because through eyes you will know a particular thing, especially colors and forms. Through ears you will know only sound, words. So same way, so that is how the sense organs are particular karanam, particular instruments, because they give you a knowledge of a particular objects. But mind is basically common to all. And asadharana karanam. Sadharana means common. And mind is sadharana karanam, I'm sorry. And our sense organs are asadharana karanam. Asadharana means particular, sadharana means common. So without eyes, color is not objectified or known. And same way, without mind, of course, eyes cannot see, ears cannot hear, and you cannot have a sense of touch, etc. If mind is not there, you cannot gain a knowledge of taste if the mind is not there. So the mind is present in the perception of seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, everything. And therefore it is sadharana karanam. So mind includes also ahankara also, I sense also. I sense also is known. And that is why ahankara, but why we are including that I sense? We are right now, we have to include. We are deriving ultimate entity, that is Atma, which is even distinct from ahankara. And ahankara is a part of the mind that we know very well. Chittam, and then ahankara, and then buddhihi, and manaha. All this we discussed in Tattvabodha. But how can you say that ahankara is a part of mind? Because the mind resolves, I sense also resolves, and therefore it is part of the mind. So mind goes to sleep, then ahankara also goes to sleep. Therefore it is, that I sense is I thought, basically, and therefore it is mind. So if the mind itself is a karanam, you said sadharana karanam, a common means of knowledge, in perception especially, in other things also. Inference required a mind, presumption requires a mind, anupalabdhi requires a mind. We have seen all these pramanas. So definitely, so if it is a karanam, it's an instrument. Mind is of course a common instrument of knowing. But then there must be a karta, a knower, distinct from this, definitely, who employs these various means of knowledge. So the entire body-mind sense complex, basically that assemblage and its constituents, is to function for someone different from the assembly, the one who is the subject. Now, in Sankhya Shastra, there is sometimes, they provide so much information to us. In Sankhya, they have one karika. I don't remember the entire karika, but one particular part I right now remember, and that I will tell you. Sangataha pararthatvat. They say like that. Sangataha, assemblage. Assemblage is always meant for para artha. Artha means a purpose. It is always meant for, para means anyaha, is always meant for the purpose of, or is always for the purpose of someone other than the assembly. Assembly is the one which is always for the purpose of someone else other than the assembly. Anything. This they have really found out very beautiful. See, you take, this is an assembly, right? It's an assembly of components, etc. So I can call it as a Sanghata. Basically, definition of Sanghata is not just putting together, not making a heap of the things. Like, there are several components. If I open it, and all the components I will, separate from this, and all the components I make a small heap of a thing. And then I say, well, this is called Sanghata. No. When these different components, constituents, put together so that it can serve a purpose for someone other than that assembly. So all the constituents, all the parts are put together, and then it is serving a purpose for someone other than the assembly. Assembly does not serve the purpose for assembly. Mobile does not serve the purpose for mobile. A clock does not serve a purpose for a clock. Computer does not serve a purpose for a computer. Camera does not serve a purpose for a camera. House does not serve a purpose for a house. Car does not serve a purpose for a car. Car serves a purpose for someone other than the car. Could you follow what I am saying? And therefore, definitely this assembly. Well, this assembly also is, this is, here also things are put together intelligently, and so that it can serve a purpose, and it serves a purpose for someone other than the assembly. And definitely, so basically the assembly here is serving a purpose for someone who is the subject, and about that the question will, he has asked the question, our Shishya has asked the question. Now, does that subject, well, for which the assembly is serving a purpose, does that subject will or desire or intend the mind to do what it does or not? I put again. Does the subject, which is distinct from the assembly and for which the assembly is serving a purpose, well, does that subject really desires that the mind to do a certain activity or not? Well, we find that it is true. It is true. Since the mind can be directed deliberately in a given track of thinking, there seems to be someone who wills the mind. Who wills the mind. By that, one thing is certain, the first question we answer here itself, does the mind itself move from object to object? Well, on its own, or someone is behind the mind? Well, we say mind just does not move, even though it appears that mind moves from object to object on its own, but there is someone, because mind is a karanam, instrument, and therefore instrument is one which is always in the hands of the one who uses the instrument. And therefore, it is different from the assembly, and the assembly is meant for its purpose, and therefore, definitely the first question we say, well, it does not move on its own. Even though it appears that the mind is moving to varieties of the things from object to object, but it is definitely someone is behind, some subject. Now we will say the subject is behind that mind. Okay. Now here the question is, or is there someone who is behind the mind, making the mind think of something or not? Prompting the mind. Well, merely prompting would not be enough. Merely prompting would not be enough, and that part now we are discussing. Since the mind can be directed towards a particular, deliberately in a given direction we can send, here in a given track of thinking, there seems to be someone who wills the mind. So mind not only objectifies, the various objects, but mind desires also various objects. mind responds to the objects, mind responds to the situation emotionally. Then mind, besides being able to recollect, is also capable of reasoning, gaining certain knowledge, direct, indirect, everything. And therefore there is one subject, well, whose will is there. I have a will, and therefore I employ a means called presumption, and I presume certain thing. Well, it is an indirect knowledge, I have already talked to you. Well, I can recollect a certain thing, and therefore I use my mind for recollection. Well, I want to express my emotion, therefore I use mind as an instrument. And therefore definitely that subject must be having a will by which it employs the mind in a given direction, in a direction of emotion, in a direction of a recollection, or in a direction of something else, inferring, etc. And therefore, basically the subject will is there. So that now the question will be, does the subject will the activities of the mind in really or not? That's the question. Could you follow what I am saying? This much part have you understood? Mind does not go from object to object by itself. Definitely the subject must be there. Mind is an instrument. This is a whole assemblage. Assemblage serves the purpose. Every instrument serves the purpose. Purpose for someone who is different from this assembly. And therefore, definitely there is a subject. There is a subject behind entire assembly. That is one thing. And now, well, that subject wills or not? That's another question. Subject wills the mind to have for a particular direction of thinking. Is it true or not? Yes, it wills. Because sometimes you respond to the situation emotionally, sometimes you are trying to recollect, sometimes you are desiring, sometimes you are simply knowing, and sometimes, and that too you are employing varieties of the means, presumption, inference, etc., all this. And as per the knowledge you want, you employ a particular means. Right now you may be inferring how Swamiji is sitting in this chair. You should not be distracted, but you can think. So you can employ your mind in a given direction, in a given track of thinking, and therefore the subject must be willing for that. Okay, that much we have already. Now the third thing is, does the subject really will the activities of mind or not? Or else what? Is it due to just merely the presence of that subject who himself does not will? Really does not will, or really he wills? This is the question. And Ishitam and Preshitam, even though they have a similar meaning, well, gives this alternative or extra sense. As I told you, I have already discussed you, Preshitam means, well, the subject prompts the mind for presumption, for inference, for recollection, for emoting, for emotions, expressing emotions, or for just knowing the objects who are in the front. Well, so all this indicates that subject wills, but subject prompts that mind towards that particular activity, toward a given direction of activity, given direction of thinking. So then if you say, then Preshitam would be enough. We don't want Ishitam. Preshitam is enough. Preshitam is prompted. Automatically we can think, well, there must be someone who prompts. So, well, but the word Ishitam is there, and therefore our line of thinking has just changed from going towards who prompts and how prompts and etc. Well, we have put a full stop there. And now Ishitam means willed by, desired by. Desired by what? Desired by whom? Well, the mind now is prompted. So there is really not impaler or a one who prompts, and there is no question of then how he prompts. Now just desired by what? Desired by whom? That subject definitely wills, and then definitely mind automatically goes in that particular direction of thinking. Or else, well, perhaps that subject may not will, may not desire. Why? Why should you bring that meaning? Let him, subject has a will. Why don't you keep that meaning? Because Ishitam has been told, desired by whom? Desired by whom is that subject. Then you keep it. Why you are now again saying, well, he may not desire, the subject may not desire. Just its presence is enough, and the mind gets prompted towards its direction of thinking. Now, what meaning should we take? Well, we'll see tomorrow. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Namaste, Swamiji.
Namaste.